Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Hello and Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf, Menachos Pei Gimel. We begin on Pei Beis Amid Beis, 1, 2, 3 lines off the bottom. So the starting point again is this is the pasuk that we started yesterday, which wraps together all the karbanos and mentions them. It mentions them each one by name. Zois haTorah la'olah v'la mincha v'la chatas v'la asham v'la miluyim v'lzevach hashlomim. Well, what's the message? What's this pasuk teaching us by connecting all the karbanos one to the other? The answer is to compare notes, to learn one from the other. We began with oila yesterday, which teaches that just like the shchita of the oila, this is learned way back from Avraham Avinu's oila, way back on Akedas Yitzchak, required a sakin, a knife, sharis. Likewise, today's oila needs the same. Likewise, today's other karbanos as well. So we compare other karbanos to the oila to require a knife. What about mincha? What do we learn from mincha? What's unique in mincha that will now be transferred to other karbanos as well? Mincha, ma mincha eina nechelas ela lezichrei kehuna. Just like a mincha is consumed only by the zecharim amongst the kohanim, as the pasuk clearly says, kol zachar b'vnei Aaron yichlena. Likewise, other karbanos will have the same system. Af kol ein necholin ela lezichrei kehuna. Other karbanos are only consumed by zecharim amongst the kohanim. Now, which karban are you talking about? Ichatas v'asham. Are you talking about achatas v'asham? Well, they have their own source. We don't need to compare them to mincha. Behedya, ksiv, it clearly says, it has to be for the zachar. By achatas it says, kol zachar b'kayhanam yichal oisa. Likewise by the asham, the pasuk says, kol zachar b'kayhanam yichlanu. So there's no need to learn from this halacha from mincha. Is it to provide a source that the public shlomims, which is the two kvasim that are brought on Shavuos as a shlomim, it's called the zivchei shal mitzibur, that we know from the Gemara that it's only meant for zecharim, and the source will be this pasuk, by connecting it to the mincha. Again, they have their own source. Mirabuy dekrei asay, they have their own source. Pasuk says, "Ba'kodesh hagadoshim teichlenu, kol zachar yechal oisai," and that's an extra pasuk. So we learned that it applies to the limud al zivchei shal mitzibur. It's going on these very karbanos to teach us she'ein nechalim el zichrei kehuna. So why do we need another source for the same? Answers the Gemara. You're right. There are two sources, two opinions as to where we learn it from. Tanoi ikad ma'islo mehacha. Some learn it from this pasuk here, from Zois haTorah, v'ikad ma'islo mehacha, and some learn it from the other pasuk. Now, the pasuk mentions, let's go down the list, it goes from oila to mincha to chatos. What do we learn from chatos? Two other karbanos. Ma chatos mekacha b'balua. Just like by chatos, the Torah clearly says that if there's any absorption from the chatos, let's say you have another piece of meat. Let's say you have a piece of shlomim sitting next to the chatos meat, and it touched and absorbed from the chatos. Mekacha, the chatas is mekadish, its counterpart below by way of absorption, and the shlomim now is sort of treated like a chatas. It gets the stringencies. It's upgraded in terms of its time frame, in terms of other things like a chatas. Of course, likewise, other karbanos have a similar system. If there's any transfer mekacha balua, it's mekadish through absorption. Okay. Asham, what's learned from Asham? Ma'asham ein shfir, just like by Asham, which is only going to be a male. The halacha is that only a zachar can be used for an Asham. So, circumstantially, it can't have shfir, that's the unborn embryo, and the shulya is the sac around it. So those things don't exist by the male Asham. Ein shfir v'shulya kadesh boy, these things cannot be kadesh inside the Asham, right? It doesn't exist. Avkol, likewise by other karbanos, even if they are female karbanos, but if they have any offspring, the kedusha only arrives upon birth, not in its unborn state. So in that sense, we compare it to the asham, which doesn't have that element of kedusha. Likewise, other karbanis, avkoil ein shvir rishul yikadosh because he holds Rebbe Lezer, who's presenting this whole presentation. V'lada is kachim, offspring of carbon animals. When do they become kaddish? Unborn or at birth? B'havyasim, when they're born. Hen kedusha, the kedusha only arrives upon birth. Rashi actually says that the Gemara cites this type of unique term, b'havyasim, because it's learned from a pasuk. How do we know that the v'ladais of kachim become kaddish? Because it says asher yihiyu l'cha. Yihiyu l'cha. Ilu avlades. So yiyu is like havyasan, upon their, birth, and upon their arrival. Hen kadosh v'danin, and even though you're learning, in reality you're learning something which is possible from something which is an impossibility. You're learning from asham where it's not even possible, circumstantial. You can do that. It's a fair equation. V'danin, we can learn after the halacha of a female carbon, where it's possible to have shvir v'shilya. We could learn the status of that mishay efshar from the asham where it's an impossibility, because it's a male. But nevertheless, it's a fair equation. After all, that's the halacha, that's the situation, and we can't introduce new kedushes. So we learn everything from the asham in terms of shvir v'shilya not being kaddish. Further in the pasuk, we have miluim. Those are the karbanos brought way back in the Mishkan and the Midbar, upon inaugurating the Mishkan, and we find that the Torah speaks about leftovers. If there's any leftover meat beyond its time, you have to burn it. But there was no leftover animals. I mean, they only set aside as many as they needed, right? That is exactly what we learn from Miluim to elsewhere. Ma Miluim Moisrein, the leftover meat, Besreifa is meant to be burnt. Vein Balachayim Moisrein, we don't find any leftover animals amongst the leftovers. Any, Besreifa, there's no burning on leftover animals. Avkol, likewise, by other karbonis, the halacha of burning noiser is strictly limited to basar, not to animals. Avkol Moisrein Besreifa, Vein Balachayim Moisrein Besreifa. Let's say you have extra animals, you set aside a backup, whatever. There would not be a halacha of moiser b'sreifa. In that case, you take it and you got a blemish and you redeem it and you direct it to the proper. Okay, the pasuk mentions shlamim down the list. What's shlamim teaching us? You see, what's unique about shlamim? We find that pigul, the concept of pigul, is learned by shlamim. That's where the pasuk speaks about it. So if he processes the carbon with the wrong machshava, having a mind to process it, to eat it, the wrong time, so the animal becomes pigul. And likewise, all the accompaniments like the nasachim all get affected by the pigul as well. So that's what we learn from shlamim to other karbonis. Ma shlamim, right? So although the pigul was stated by shlamim, but now we know that other karbonis, the halacha of pigul also applies to other karbonis. Shlamim, ma shlamim mifaglin, it could affect its accompaniments through the pigul. Umispaglin, and the carbon itself becomes pigul as well. Afkol, same applies to other karbonis. Okay, so this was basically a presentation by Rebbe Lezer, analyzing the pasuk of Azois HaTorah, La'olav, L'mincha, L'chatas, etc. Why this extensive list? Because we're going to take the unique qualities of each respective carbon and spread it around. Here comes version number 2. Again, based on this pasuk, but instead of Rebbe Lezer, it's Rebbe Kiva. And this is going to lead us to where we're trying to get. We're trying to find out how Rebbe Kiva knows, right, as we started this yesterday. How do we know that according to Rebbe Kiva, a davar shebachayv, an obligatory carbon, has to be paid for privately by chulin money as opposed to ma'aseh sheni money? Here it goes. Masnisa Tana Mishmei Rebbe Kiva. In the Brisa we have Rebbe Kiva, quoted as follows. Back to the pasuk Zois HaTorah v'chulu. So Oila, he agrees, that it's like Rebbe Lezer, but when it comes to mincha, he has a different version. What do we learn from mincha? You see, just as the Torah teaches that by the chatas, material that gets transferred and absorbed into something else, it affects that and it elevates it to its higher status. Likewise by mincha, if you have let's say a lower level mincha with a higher, you have a dough sitting next to mincha and absorbs from the mincha, it must be treated like the mincha. And that's what we learn from the word mincha in this pasuk, that this absorption, transfer process applies to other karbanos as well. Mincha, ma mincha mekadesh b'alo is mekadesh, it's counterpart by way of absorption. Avkol, likewise, any carbon, in a similar circumstance, mekadesh b'alo. Now, why does the Torah have to actually highlight this point by chatas and by mincha? That in both cases, if there is a transfer and absorption, it affects its recipient. It needs to be said by chatas and mincha. Each one has its own highlight. If it's only discussed by a mincha, dough absorbing from dough, I would say, yeah, it's soft, it's oily, so it's highly absorbent, right? Rashi says soilus is highly absorbent. And therefore, the absorption will affect it, right? So mincha, because of its softness, permeability, it's soilus, it's flour, yeah. But let's say a piece of meat, which is more firm, maybe it doesn't have the same effect. The effect is not as profound, and therefore you don't have to reckon with it. Because on the other hand, if the Torah only speaks about pieces of meat touching, yeah, I would say mishum the basar, yeah, agam the shamin, basar is fatty and greasy, kadir, it permeates its recipient, aval mincha, by mincha, maybe it doesn't have the same effect, shricha. The chiddush is that in both cases, whether it's flour, dough, meat, greasy, not greasy, absorption, transfer, affects its recipient accordingly. Okay, now we go down the list in the pasuk. Why mention chatos by Zois HaTorah, right? Ma chatos eina bo el min achulin. Here it goes. Just like a chatos must be financed from chulin material, you have to pay for it privately. How do we know? We'll see in a minute. Ubayayim, it has to be processed during daytime. You can only be makriv a carbon during daytime. But the iman is using your kohen's right hand. Avkol, likewise, any carbon chayva. Number one, eina bo el min achulin. You have to pay for it privately. But a carbon that can only be brought by day. So by the way, here we see Rekiva's source, that a carbon chayva must be paid for privately. Okay, next, any carbon has to be brought only by day. The Yaman is using the kohen's right hand. Fine. Says the Gemara, that's learned from chatas, v'chatas gufa minah. How do we know that these halachas apply by a chatas as well? Amar chizda makra, we have a pasuk on Yom Kippur, v'yikir arnas apar chatas ashaloi. Arna kohen takes his par. What does ashaloi mean? Loi mishaloi, he has to pay for it privately. Loi mishal master, you can't use master money for it. Okay, so hence we know that every carbon chayva has to be funded privately. Now we learn also from the chatas that you can only be makriv a carbon by day. And Rashi brings, because in Yom Kippur it says kivayoyim hazeh yechaper aleichem, you have to be mechaper by day. A carbon is strictly during daytime. But Yoim asked the Gemara, well, that's from a different pasuk. We learned that from Yom Tzavaisai, that all carbonates have to be processed during daytime. Why do we need a new kedi for nothing, so to speak? Naspa, he put it in. He just sort of attached it to the list. But really, this concept doesn't really need to be learned from this pasuk. We have a different pasuk. Okay. What about the third thing that we learn from chatas? Biyada Yemanis, that the kohen has to do hakrava with his right hand. Again, we have another source for that. We discussed that way back Midirabba. Bar Chana Nafka, that's learned from there. The Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Ishlakish, Kol Malkim Shenamar Etzba. Take a look at the psukim. Wherever we find the lashon Etzba, the kohen's finger, or Bakuna, or the word kohen explicitly mentioned, it means his right hand. And we learned that from Mitzorah, as we learned back in beginning of the Masechta. So once again, that's superfluous. We have another source for that. Why do we need a new source over here? Again, Kedinaspa just came along, by the way, but it wasn't really the primary source. Okay. And finally, we have the word Asham in the Torah, in this pasuk of Zois HaTorah. What does Rekiva learn from Asham? Ma Asham atzmois of mutar. Just like by an Asham, the bones, which are inedible, are certainly permitted for personal use. You can take it, Rashi says, and make from it a knife handle, right? Because the idea of noisar being burnt is only by edibles, not inedibles. Of course, likewise, all other karbanos, including what? Says Rashi, even including an oila, where the bones are meant to be incinerated together with the basar and mizbeach. But let's say a bone popped away, atzmois mutar, you can take it for private personal use. Okay. So that pretty much ends our discussion. We started with a question, with a Mishnah, with a halacha that davar shebechayva, a carbon that which you're obligated to bring, as opposed to a voluntary, an obligatory carbon has to be privately funded. You can't use masasheni money towards the. How do we know that? So we have two sources. Rabbi Lezer learns from carbon Pesach, which in Mitzrayim was not made from masa. Likewise, every Pesach, every carbon. We have Rabbi Kiva, that it's derived from chatas, which is mentioned in this pasuk in conjunction with all the other karbonos, which allows them to learn from the chatas, which needs to be privately funded. How do we know? From Yom Kippur, Asher Loi. So now we have two sources. That davar shebachayva einoi ba ela benachulin. Okay. Now Rabbi Lezer yesterday had a different pasuk, which was his source, which Rabbi Kiva obviously doesn't need for that purpose because he has his own source. In any case, Rabbi Lezer's pasuk was v'zavachto Pesach laHashem alekecha tzoyin bakar. You meant to offer the Pesach from tzoyin, light animals, and bakar, heavy cattle. Well, we know that a Pesach cannot be sourced in cattle. It's got to be goats or sheep, as the pasuk tells. So Rabbi Lezer used that pasuk to teach us davar shebachayva, etc. Now Rabbi Kiva had another source for davar shebachayva. What does he do with that pasuk? Okay, that remains a question mark. Rabbi Kiva says the Gemara, "Hai v'zavachto Pesach." We turn to him on base. Ma yavali. What does he do with that pasuk? For a different reason. It's needed for a different halakha. Rav Nachman, Damar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Vuah. What about leftovers? You have some leftover, some change. You set aside $1 million for your sheep. It costs only $3.50. You have some change. What do you do with the leftover money? Ma'aser Pesach. Well, let's say you have a leftover an animal. You set aside 2 just in case, and you have a leftover. Ma'aser Pesach, menayin leMa'aser Pesach shekorav shlamim. It's directed into the shlamim scene. It's used as the shlamim. Shenam ovel pasuk. This very pasuk. As a bachta Pesach shlamim. Okay, so the bakar. A Pesach is either tzoyin or bakar. And the question is, it's not. Pesach bo'el Menachos izim. Pesach needs to be light animals, sheep, goats. Ella, rather the pasuk is speaking about a Ma'aser Pesach. Sometimes Pesach material, leftover money, leftover animal, will be used for a karban shlamim, which can hail from cattle as well. So it's interchangeable. Ella Ma'aser Pesach Yehiladava should be used for something, a type of carbon habam and asoyim nabakar that can hail from either tzoyin or bakar, which is a shlam. Ask the Gemara, we have another source for this very halacha of Ma'aser. We actually have 2 more sources. So this halacha that extra Pesach goes to a shlam is from here. Mid avod shmo nafka. It's from avod shmo's drush l'chsiv. So this is actually the psukim that discuss shlamim, the parsha of shlamim. So tzoyin can either refer to sheep or goats, right? Now the words l'zevach shlamim is extra because the pasuk is talking about. That's the discussion. Zevach shlamim. That's the topic. So why mention l'zevach shlamim? V'amar v'od Shmuel. The extra expression refers to a different concept. Davar haba ben tzoyin, a karban Pesach, which comes from tzoyin, from light animals. Yehei l'zevach shlamim sometimes can be redirected as a shlamim if it's extra. Okay. So we have another pasuk for the same halacha. What's the point of repetition? Furthermore, and still we have yet a third pasuk. That Ma'aser Pesach is a shlamim. Is it from here? Ma'aser we have a different pasuk. The Sanya. Listen to this brisa. Again, back to the discussion of Parsha Shlamim, Vayikra Perek Gimel. It says im kevesu makriv, which is extra because it already says v'menat tzoyin. That's the pasuk we just quoted a minute ago. And tzoyin, like we said, covers either sheep or goats. And later on it says a goat. So now, obviously, now it's a sheep. Why mention the word sheep by name? L'rabbis es ha-pesach la'alya is coming to tell you that just as by a sheep, which is a shlam, a real shlamim, the aliyah, the tail area, is put on the mizbeach. Likewise, this applies to karban Pesach as well. So if you have a karban Pesach, not a shlam, a Pesach, a real Pesach, which happens to be a sheep, the aliyah is offered on the mizbeach. Okay, so this extra word is coming to include even the Pesach with respect to aliyah. Okay, sho'emer im keves. Now, what's the word im keves about? Im, what's im? Lahavi Pesach shover shnasei. The extra word is coming to cover the leftover Pesach. A Pesach which is past its year. A Pesach is only kosher within the first year of its birth. So it's past the first Ushlam haba hamachmas Pesach. Or let's say you have the shlam which comes along with the Pesach, that's the chagiga, shalmi chagiga, which comes together with the Korban Pesach and Erev Pesach. So the pasuk is telling us that these are sort of pseudo shlamims, and they're not the standard shlamim, but they have the din of shlamim. L'chol mitzvah shlamim. All the mitzvahs of shlamim apply to them. So not only to the original routine shlamim, even to these sort of new variations of shlamim. The extra Pesach, which is treated like a shlamim, or the shlamim that comes with the Pesach on. Which mitzvahs are we talking about? Shit'anu, they require smicha, leaning on the animal, right? V'nesachim, right? The waving, all these things apply just like they would be. It would apply to regular shlam. Smicha, u'nesachim, v'shek. Now, kshu'ay mevim eis. Hifsakein. The next chapter there, v'im eis, is separating, drawing a line between the keves discussed earlier and the eis discussed going forward. Hifsakein. What's the point of separating them? To give it its own rules. Limeid, it comes to teach us, alo eis she'ena tuna alya. Only the alya of the keves is offered on the mizbeach, but not of the eis. Runs a different track. So bottom line, we have three sources that Moisar Pesach is erected to shlamim. What's the point of having three sources for the same halacha? Says the Gemara, actually there are three variations of Moisar Pesach. Each one requires its own pasuk. You can't really learn one from the other. Each one with its own purpose. Chad, one is la'avar zmanai, v'avar shnasa. One is for a case where the animal is past the zman, it's past Pesach. It cannot be used for Korban Pesach anymore, simply due to the calendar factor. V'avar shnasa. Furthermore, it's overage, past its first birthday. Totally rejected. Still, it's going to be used as a shlam. Next pasuk is for a slightly different variation of leftovers. V'chad la'avar zmanai. It's past the time, past the Pesach, but not yet past its birthday. La'avar shnasei. So it's not as rejected. Third, v'chad, the next pasuk, lo'avar zmanai, but la'avar shnasei. It's not even past Pesach, certainly not past its birthday. It's still before Pesach, but it's extra. You already have another one. It's used as a shlam. It's richi, and really all three psukim are needed. You can't really compare one to the other. Each one has its own unique flavor. Had we only discussed the most severe rejected one, past Pesach, past its birthday, mishum d'tchil gam is completely off the track. So yeah, that's good for a shlam. Well, let's say it's past Pesach, but it's still age appropriate. The chazal Pesach Sheni technically can be used for Pesach Sheni. Perhaps you can't directed for a shlam at this point. Comes the pasuk and says yes. So even though theoretically it can be used Pesach Sheni, it's already rejected because it wasn't needed anymore. He already had a different, Korban Pesach, so it's going to be a shlam. Again, had we only discussed this case, I can understand the itchel in Pesach Rishon, because after all, it's been shut out of Pesach Rishon, so it's already off the track. Well, let's say it's still before Yom Tov, and it's still age appropriate. It still technically can be used for Pesach Rishon. Perhaps you can't just take and use it as a shlamim. Tzricha comes to pasuk and says you could. Look, he has another one. This is extra. It's going to be for a shlamim. Okay, so far we covered two topics today. We have the halacha of davar shebachayva. We have two sources for that, and we have the halacha that Moisar Pesach Karev Shlamim in all circumstances, in all situations. Hadron Allah Chatoido Sabah, says the Mishnah. Kol Karbonis, Rashi says over here, Kol Karbonis means Menachos. We're talking about specifically flour, grain-oriented offerings, Menachos. Whether it's Hatzibah, public offerings like the Omer, etc., V'ayachar, or private offerings, they can come from anywhere, any material, any crop, Ba'imena Aretz, Umechutz L'Aretz, it can be sourced in local crop or imported crop, menachadash, menayashan, new crop, last year's crop, except there are two exceptions. Chutz mena omer, u'shtei alechem. The omer on the 16th day of Nisan, shtei alechem on Shavuos, they're limited. Shein and boy el menachadash, they must be sourced from the new crop only, this year's crop, menaaretz, grown locally in Eretz Yisrael. But in general, all karbonos v'chulan ein and boy el menamufchar, you meant to try to obtain the best, highest quality material. Examples of which are Veizeu Muchashlam. Give me some examples where you can find good flour. So there's a place called Machnes, Machnim, Machmas, Vizinucha. These two locations are alpha. Rashi says alpha is like the alpha in Greek. That's the best, top quality. The Rambam Pirsha Mishnah learns alpha means to teach, to convey. Those two places are known. They have a reputation of providing the best lasailas, the best grain, the best flour for Menachos. That's where you go to find the best. Second best Shneelan is Afarim, another place, Babika in the valley. Okay, Kol Haaretz Lo technically can get from anywhere in Eretz Yisrael. All provinces are okay, but they would prefer these places because of their high quality material. Now in the Mishnah we learned that unlike all Menachos, the Eimer Shtei Lechem are limited to Chadash and Eretz Yisrael. Otherwise they're not kosher. Masis like Tanas, our Mishnah which insists that only new material be used for the Eimer Shtei Lechem Delay Katan is unlike the following Shita, which says that by the Eved, even old material can be used for the Eimer Shtei Lechem. The Sani Eimer Abba Mina Yoshan kosher. If you take Yoshan, aged grain for the Eimer, it works. Likewise, Shtei Lechem Habois Mina Yoshan is also ksheres. El Shechis Mitzvah, you missed out on an opportunity. It's meant to be from the new crop, but it works. Our Mishnah disagrees. Our Mishnah says it has to be new crop only. Continues the Bryce. How do I know? Omer, by the Omer, the Chsiv Takriv, the extra word Takriv as Menachos Bikurecha teaches us, I feel when I even take it from the upstairs, from the storage. What about Shtei Lechem, the Chsiv? Moshe V'seichem Taviu. Moshe V'seichem teaches us, V'loi min chutz la'aretz. It can't be imported from outside Eretz Yisrael. It has to be from where your dwelling is, from Eretz Yisrael. And likewise, Moshe V'seichem teaches us, I feel when Aliyah. As long as it's local material, even if it's from the storage, it's okay. It says, well, what do you mean? You learned this word, Moshe Sechem, has already been used a minute ago for to exclude chutz la'aretz. Ha'afikte. The answer is no, we're actually dwelling on the next word. Amakrot taviu. You're right. Mi Moshe Sechem teaches locally grown. Taviu expands it to even last year's crop. So if it's locally grown, it's okay, even if it's last year's crop. Afilu min aliyah. Ask the Gemara, but taviu is unavailable. It's been used a couple of weeks ago for something else regarding the quantity in terms of the breads of the karban toida. You compare it to the Shtei Lechem, right? V'afikte, it's been used for the other pasuk. Sorry, v'amibayla, it's needed for the other drasha shekol shata mevi mimalka machar, another mincha which is also sourced in chametz, like the karban toida. Those breads have to be the same size. Harei hukazeh, so taviu has already been used. Imkain. You can learn both things. Why? Lichtav kro tavi. If it's only to teach us that Allah would say tavi, my tavi, the extra vav teaches us both things. Tashmon tarti, our halacha today as well. Ask the Gemara. So you mean you can use old wheat? V'aksiv reishis. It says that the Eimer is meant to be reishis, the first cut, right? And that applies to the Shtei Lechem as well. Right? It says Reishis K'tzirchem, and by the Shtei Lechem it says Karban Reishis. How could you use old material? You're right, L'mitzvah. You meant to do it, but if you don't, it still works. Haksiv Chadasha. Says the Gemara, but the Torah repeats itself for emphasis. But the Shtei Lechem says, make sure it's new. You can't say it's just a mitzvah, it's not essential. It's pretty critical if it's emphasized and repeated. Well, it says the Gemara, the Sanya, this pasuk is coming for a different purpose. It's not coming to emphasize the requirement, of the new crop, to require new crop. The Sanya is needed for something else. Truthfully, if you take last year's crop for the Shtei Lechem, it works. No, what about this pasuk Chadasha? How do I fulfill the directive in this pasuk which calls it mincha chadasha? It means to say like this: Shtei Lechem is meant to be the first offering. You're not meant to bring any karbanis, any menachos, whatever, from this year's crop before you bring the Shtei Lechem. But the Shtei Lechem itself, ironically, can contain last year's material. But it sort of opens the door. It turns on the green light to allow further bringing of karbanis of this year's crop. Right? But the Shtei Lechem itself, if you happen to bring it from last year's crop, it's okay. it opens the door, and from now on, you can bring offerings of the new crop. Now, this whole discussion between the Mishnah, which says only new material, and the Brisa, which says even last year, that's only regarding that question. There's no question in terms of sourcing the material from here or long distance. All agree it has to be locally grown from Eretz Yisrael. It has to be from Eretz Yisrael, not from Chutz La'aretz. This is going to be a dispute of the next Tana, who says you can even bring the Omer from outside Eretz Yisrael, the Sanya, the Omer b'mechutz la'aretz. The Omer material can be sourced from outside Eretz Yisrael. Mani mekayim kisavoy la'aretz. Why does the Torah refer to entering the land? In terms of timing, it applies starting that point. They're not chayav until they enter. They're only chayav to bring the Omer from that point onward. But once that happens, technically the Omer can be brought from anywhere. And the reason is like this, because he holds Chodesh, the prohibition against a person even privately consuming new crop until the 16th day of the Nisan, until the Omer is brought. Today we don't have the Omer, so we have to wait for the day to go. This concept, even outside Eretz Yisrael, is also not Torah. It's not just the Rabban. But it's the Raisi. Why? Because the pasuk in forbidding the eating of the new crop until the Omer is offered refers to Moshvei Seichem, which is not limited to Eretz Yisrael. Kol makam shatam yeshvim mashma. Refers to any place of our residences, wherever we live. Okay? So even outside Eretz Yisrael. Although the pasuk says, when you enter, again, that's only in terms of timing, zman biyai. When you enter, the whole Chadash system gets activated, which prohibits consumption before the Omer, until the Omer is actually offered. Now, once we establish that the grain material, even outside Eretz Yisrael, is forbidden, because it's labeled as Chadash, the Raisi, in Torah, Akruvin. So logic would say that you can use it for the Omer as well. Because let's think, the Omer is a sampling, right, of the new crop. When that's offered on the Mizbech, it permits the new crop. So since the material outside Eretz Yisrael is also covered by this system, assumingly it can also be used to dispense the Chiyuv, to supply the material for the Omer. So according to the sheet, the Omer can come even from Chutz La'aretz. In terms of Shtei Alechem, there's a Shaila Nachronim. Some say it applies only to Omer, some say it applies even to Shtei Alechem. Okay, in any case, generally a mincha can be sourced from any material, new, old, local, long distance, except for the Omer Shtei Alechem, which according to the Mishnah needs to be local and fresh, new. According to the Brisa in the Gemara, even old can still work. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, even Omer from Chutz La'aretz is kosher. Hatlach Rabba, B'suras Tevis, and all the best.